Good morning, dear students. I'm pretty sure now that you all are doing good and probably you are following these live classes very well. So without much delay, we don't have much to introduce about anything. I'll just tell you one thing, that in the previous classes we started with tense, okay? And before doing tense, we have already done the format for formal and informal letters. I even gave you format for notice and email in our second session. I again request you through this platform that please go on practicing the formats well. That day, the previous day when I was giving you the format, I clearly told you that the format carries some stipulated marks. Stipulated marks means, as in case of letters, I have told you, if you write the format properly, out of 5, you are going to score 2.5 for sure. 2.5 to 3. 2.5 in case of informal letter and 3 in case of formal letter. And the same goes for notice and email also. Notice and email, if you write the format, if you follow the format correctly, nobody can stop you from getting 10 on 10. So please focus on these minute things, and then only you will be able to achieve something which is bigger or something which is greater. So without much delay, let us proceed with our chapter tense. So I told you, what is tense? You all might be well aware of tense right now. Tense is something that tells us about the time of an action. For example, if I tell you, she studies hard. She studies hard. Now when I say studies hard, this is something studies. This particular verb tells us that the verb studies is actually focusing on an action which is going on at the present moment. Thereafter, if we go into tense in detail, okay, I think in the last session I told you what are the uses of present continuous, simple present tense. I think I told you the uses of simple present tense. So if we go into the tense thing in detail, you will gradually realize that these tenses are again having, like I told you, this is present tense. Now in present tense, what particular type or what particular kind of present tense does it signify? This will gradually get to know if we go into detail in the chapter. Just let me give you a quick recap of whatever we had done, and then I'll proceed with the current session. So tense is something that tells us about the time of action. Now this tense has got 3 types, that is present. This is something very simple. You are doing it since your class 1, okay? Present, past and future. Okay? Now all these tenses are again having subparts. Subparts in a sense, as I told you in the previous session, there are 4 subparts. The first one is simple. Then comes what? Continuous. Then perfect. And the last is perfect continuous. Okay, like if it is present tense, we have simple present, present continuous, present perfect and present perfect continuous. The same goes for past and future as well. We'll have simple past, simple future, past continuous, future continuous, past perfect, future perfect, past perfect continuous and future perfect continuous. I hope up till here you don't have any doubt, and you have even done it in your previous classes, in your basic classes. Then comes the uses of all these parts in detail. In the last class, we did the details of, the uses of simple present tense in detail. Now what is simple present tense? That also will revise quickly, and then we'll proceed with present continuous tense today. Okay. Now simple present tense is something which clearly denotes the action at the moment. If I say I take English language for you, means I take English language for you for this session. It is a permanent process for the time being and will be even continuing in the near future. Okay. Then there are certain other uses of simple present tense, like it denotes planned actions in the future. It is used when we are actually doing some commentary or telling the recipes. It is actually used to express our habitual actions. For example, if I say I come to school by cycle, okay, then that is a habitual action. I every day come to school by cycle. Okay, it is not going to change as of now. Then comes yes, universal truth. Sun rises in the east. It was rising in, it means from the very beginning of the universe, sun was rising from the east, and it will even keep on doing so in the upcoming future also. So all these things I hope are clear to you. There are four basic uses of simple present tense. First, universal truth, habitual action, planned future, and commentaries and recipes. Then there can be like certain other use. One more thing that I forgot. Fifth one, conditional sentences. I'll repeat it once again because that is something new to you. I taught you, right, conditional sentence in the previous class. I just gave you a hint about it. Conditional sentences. Now when I say conditional sentences, it clearly, the term conditional clearly gives us, please do understand it students, because this concept is going to be used in past tense also. So please, I request you, in your copy, wherever you are making the notes, please make a separate column, draw a separate column and write down this concept of conditional sentence. Although we will be doing it pretty much in detail, it's a separate chapter in your course this year, but still, for the time being, for your understanding and for your better understanding of the concept, please write it down somewhere. Now, conditional sentences, as the term conditional says, what is conditional? Condition means what? You will do something only when a particular condition is fulfilled, right? For example, suppose if you demand something from your parents. Suppose, for example, if you tell your parents, I will study hard and try to get 90% in exam if you promise to give me a mobile after that. If you promise me a mobile phone, I will try and study hard and get 90% in the exam. Now, there are two statements over here. If you promise me a cell phone, this is the first one, right? If you promise me a cell phone, this is the first thing. Now, if you promise me a cell phone, what is going to happen? I will study hard. Okay? I will study hard. Now, this particular statement has got two clauses. The first is, if you promise me a cell phone. The second clause is, I will study hard. I hope you know what are clauses. So I won't go into detail. We will discuss clauses again in detail when we are dealing with subordinating conjunctions, and like when we are discussing the simple, compound and complex sentences. So right now I am not going into detail of it. So when you say, if you promise me a cell phone, I will study hard. This is what you are saying to your parents for the time being. Let us take it as an example. Now, this is the thing that you are supposed to do. I will study hard. But when you are going to do it, only when this condition gets fulfilled. So since this sentence has got a condition, these type of sentences are called conditional sentences. The very basic thing how you can identify a conditional sentence is, if you see if in the sentence, if or unless, right? If or unless. If you find either of these two words in a sentence, understand that it is a conditional sentence. Now, like again, there can be another example. If it rains, we will not go out. Okay. Now, what is the sentence over here? go out. So when you are not going to go out? If it rains. When it rains. So now here, this statement will be fulfilled when the previous condition gets satisfied. Clear? The same as this. This statement, you will study hard only when the condition gets fulfilled. And what is the condition? If you are promised a cell phone. Okay. Now, I told you in the previous class that these conditional sentences are having 3 types. Okay. We normally know it by type 1. Okay. Type 2. Type 3. Now when I told you about this thing, simple present tense, when I told you about simple present tense, then we discussed type 1 in not in that detail, but I gave you a hint about type 1. I'll just tell you the format of all the 3 types, write it down somewhere. In the upcoming classes, in the upcoming sessions, when we are discussing with this chapter in detail, you will be requiring it. Okay. Now type 1 is, remember we did it in present tense. Type 1 actually deals with present, simple present tense. So type 1 is if plus present plus will or shall. Clear? Type 2 is it's very easy. If you remember one type, you can easily derive the other 2 types. Type 2 is if. Anyways, it will start with if. Since it's a conditional statement, no, so it has to start with if. Type 2, if plus, now this present will change into past. Understood? I hope there is no doubt. That is why I told you when we are dealing with past tense and its uses, we will require this type 2. Okay? So if plus past. Now if this is past, this will change into would. Clear? Similarly, now we will not go into future. Past, if plus past perfect. That is the next thing. If plus past perfect plus would. Now, what we are using in case of perfect tenses, we are using has, have, had. Right? So, whenever you are writing past perfect over here you will use what? If plus past perfect plus would have. I hope I am clear. When I am discussing this chapter in detail, I will tell you why it is so. How it came into existence, why it is so. There is another type which is called type 0. Okay, I haven't discussed over here because it is not important from this point of view. So we'll do all these things when we are coming to this chapter. So if I take this example, the first, if it rains, we will not go out. Okay. Now when it says if plus present plus will or shall, please do keep one thing in your mind. If till present is actually the if clause. What is it? It is the if clause. If clause means the clause which contains if, or the clause which establishes the condition that needs to be fulfilled. Then comes, whenever you are getting this will or shall, this will be part of the other clause, the main clause, the next main clause. Okay. Now see this example. If it rains, I told you, no, if plus present. Till there is the if clause. So this is the if clause. Okay. If it rains, this is the condition. If it happens, then this clause will not be occurring. Okay. So if plus present, rains is which tense? It is present. And if you even go into detail, as I told you in the previous session, and just now we had a recapitulation of it. If it rains, now that means now it is not raining. So when it is going to rain, in the maybe upcoming future. So this is something planned future. Maybe by seeing the weather, you can predict probably it will rain. So if it rains, okay, it rains, planned future. If it rains, a planned future means like something condition. It can happen, it may not happen. Okay. We will not go out. See, I told you, no, next clause will have will or shall. We will. Clear? I hope it is clear. So please students, take 1 minute, jot down this. Type right? So jot it down. Jot down type 1 with an example so that it will be easy for you to understand what is type 1. And thereafter type 2 also you jot down the format. When I am dealing with past tense, I will tell you an example of it. Okay. So if you are done with all these, I will just erase it and we'll proceed with present continuous tense. Okay. So I'll erase it. Okay. Now, before I begin, let me just tell you something. What do you mean by something which is continuous? Like if I tell you, she's continuously shouting, or she's continuously pinching me or insisting on me to do something. Now, when I say something is being continuously done, means it's a repeated action, right? It's a repeated action. It keeps on occurring at regular intervals, or maybe it has started and has not ended. Okay, it's going on. For example, if I tell you, I'm teaching you English now, means what? What I'm doing right now, I'm teaching. Now, this is a continuous action. It started 10 minutes or 15 minutes before, and it will keep on continuing for the upcoming 30, 35 or 40 minutes. So for this duration, it's going to be an uninterrupted action. So this is what is known as continuous. Let me write this example over here. I am teaching you English. Okay. Now, if I just derive the structure of this is present continuous tense, okay? Please put a separate heading. I forgot to write it down. You just put a separate heading, students. And under the separate heading, prepare the notes. The previous one, whatever we have done, that was simple present, and this is present continuous. Okay. Now, when I am saying I am teaching you English, okay, let me derive the structure of this particular statement. The first one, I, that means I am talking about myself, or I can even say he or she or whatever it is. That is what? That is the subject. Okay. Whatever or means whosoever is saying or speaking or doing something becomes the subject. Then this is what? Verb. Here we have taken like helping verb plus main verb. Like together I can say this is verb, and this is base form of the verb, teach, right? If I avoid ing, this is the base form of the verb, plus what? ing, plus predicate or object, or let me write object. Okay. Now the basic sentence, with the basic structure of an English sentence is subject plus verb plus object. I hope there is no doubt in it. When we write an interrogative sentence, it becomes verb plus subject plus object. Right? Okay, fine. Do not think about interrogative sentence right now. Think about only a sentence. Okay? For anything that you say, if I say he eats an apple. He eats an apple. Okay, the basic structure is what? Subject plus verb plus object. This is the subject plus verb plus object. This is the basic structure. The same is over here, subject, verb, object. This together can be taken as verb, subject plus verb plus object. Now, I could write verb continuous form or something of that sort. But I have separately written ing. Can you understand why? It's only because I want to tell you, whenever a sentence, whenever a tense says that it is continuous in nature, it necessarily should have ing. Okay? Even in case of perfect continuous tenses, we necessarily should have an ing form of the verb. Without this, the sentence will not be a continuous sentence. Clear? I hope I am clear. That is the reason when I derived the structure of a continuous sentence, I have written ing separately so as to emphasize on the fact that no matter what the tense is, okay, if it is a continuous sentence, if the tense is a continuous sentence, no matter continuous tense, continuous category of which tense, like whether it is present continuous or past continuous or future continuous, no matter. It doesn't matter. You will have one ing in that. Continuous means ing is must. Now the basic structure therefore we can now say that the structure for present continuous tense will be subject plus base form of the verb plus ing plus object. Based on this structure we can, based on this structure we can create one more sentence. Like suppose for example subject, I can say Mohan. Students, I forgot one thing over here. In case of continuous sentence, helping verb also is must. Subject plus is, am, are plus base form of the verb plus ing. Here I have used am. No, I forgot to mention it separately. The structure is subject plus helping verb or is, am, are plus base form of the verb plus ing plus object. If it is, since it is present continuous, so I am using is, am, are. If it becomes past continuous, we will be using was or were. Okay. Okay. So Mohan is writing. Okay. Now base form is write plus ing, writing a letter. I hope I am clear now. The structure for present continuous tense is subject, this is the subject, Mohan is the subject, plus is or am or are. We'll be using is with singular subject, we'll be using am with I and are with plural subject. If I would have said students, then I would have written as, okay, are. Students are. Then comes what? Base form of the verb plus ing, base form of the verb plus ing plus object. There should be no confusion up till here. Jot down this. Like write the heading present continuous tense. Under that write one example. You can even frame an example by your own. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to write whatever is written over here. And after that example, write down this structure. Deduce the structure by yourself. Try and deduce it by yourself. Even in the previous I think when I did simple present tense with you, I did not tell you the structure. For that also you can deduce the structure by yourself. Suppose this is he eats an apple. This is simple present tense, isn't it? So what is subject plus verb, first form plus object. Now here with the verb you will either use s or es. When you are going to use it, if your verb subject is singular, then you will use suppose if I say Mohan, okay, then if the verb subject is singular, then we will use s or es with the verb. And if it is students, like if the subject is plural now, so we will not use s or es with the verb. I'll just write students write, Mohan writes. The simple concept can be, if you add s or es, this is a shortcut, okay, this is just a shortcut to be told to you. It has got no logic or no rule. It is nowhere included in the rule book of grammar. It's just that you can understand it. The moment you add s or es with the verb becomes what? Singular. What happens in case of noun? If it is a noun, dog, if I add s to it, it will become plural, right? In case of noun, if I add s or es, it becomes plural. But in case of verb, if I add s or es, it will be used with a singular verb, singular subject. Clear? Okay. So you can deduce the structure by yourself. For simple present also you have to do it in the same way. You will put the heading simple present tense. Then you will write an example. After writing an example, you will write the structure. After writing the structure, you'll put the next heading uses, and then you will write those 5 uses that I told you. Today also, you will put the heading present continuous tense, put the date, then write present continuous tense, an example, structure, and after the structure, you will write what? The uses, which I am going to discuss right now. Okay. So better I erase it. If you haven't yet written, you can pause the video once this lecture is over and you can see it. Okay. And put the heading uses, and thereafter go on writing the uses that I am going to tell you now with examples. Okay. So before I start this present continuous tense, let me tell you, this present continuous tense is very easy, okay? If you do understand the examples, the structures, the logics properly, it will be a piece of cake for you. And it's not that difficult to understand it. So anyways, let me proceed without any detail, without any further discussion. So the very first one is, I told you, right, just now, if I say, I am teaching you English grammar, that means what? The action is going on now. It started around 15-20 minutes before. It will even continue for next upcoming 20 or 30 minutes. So that means it is a continuous process. Clear? So the very first use is when an action is taking place at the time of speaking. Okay? When an action is taking place at the time of speaking. If I say, I am teaching you English 1, that means this action is going on now. If I tell you I teach you English, means it's it will remain a habitual action for few days, maybe for this session. Okay? But if I tell you I am teaching you English 1, means this I am teaching you denotes that the action is continuous or going on at the time of speaking. The first use is very simple, I suppose. Let us move to the next use. Acha, when we were doing simple present tense, when I told you the uses of simple present tense, I told you that simple present tense are used for expressing planned future. Like if I tell you, she arrives tomorrow. Okay? That means it's definitely going to happen. Though I have used here simple present tense, it tells us about a future, but that future is definitely going to happen. Even present continuous tense can be used for expressing a planned future. I'll give you an example. Let me write the use first. To express a planned future. Let me give you an example. You will understand it very easily. Suppose if I say, what have I written over here? She is arriving tomorrow. Okay, that means this is MR or helping verb, is MR plus arrive, that is base sum of the verb, plus ing. This is putting in the structure, and as per the structure, if ing is used, that means what? It is denoting something which is continuous at the time of speaking. But the moment I used here tomorrow, that means what? Tomorrow means future, right? But this is something I'm sure about. I know tomorrow she is going to come no matter what. If I tell you the school is reopening tomorrow, means although I'm talking about tomorrow, although I'm talking about an action which is going to happen tomorrow, but that is surely going to happen. This action in the future is planned. Okay? And it is not going to be cancelled anymore. So that is why to express all these planned futures, we can use simple present tense and we can even use present continuous tense. I hope these two uses are clear to you. Let me proceed with the next one. There is space, I'll write it here. To express an action which is happening at the time but not necessarily at the time of speaking. Okay, now this might be a bit complicated to you. Let me just tell you one thing. I just now told you that present continuous tense is used to express something which is going on at the time of speaking. Like if I say I am teaching you English or you are studying English right now. So this is something going on at the time of speaking, so that can be used. But if I say to express an action which is happening at the time, means at the current time. When I say current time, I do not only mean now, but it can be like this era, this generation, or I can even mean all these things, okay? But not necessarily at the time of speaking. It shouldn't be, it is not mandatory that it should happen now when I'm speaking it. But it's in trend. Yes, you can use the word trend. For example, if I tell you, girls are again wearing sarees now. Okay? If I say girls are again wearing sarees now, it shouldn't mean that right now at this moment girls are wearing sari, or you can find out some girls wearing sari. No. It simply means that it is something which has again started, okay? And it is something, girls wearing saris now is something which has again started, okay? And it is continuous. Now people are in habit of wearing saris. Let me give you an example. If I say, I'll write the example here. I hope you have written this. Students, please, if you haven't written, pause the video and write down these uses. It's important. For example, if I tell you the example for C, okay, this is the example for C. If I say Little Flower School Little Flower School is taking online classes for its students. Okay? Now this particular statement, it fits the present time. Not just now. Like, okay, fine. You may say that, yes, ma'am, now you are taking the online class. So, this is something happening now. But, suppose if you are seeing the video at some time of the day when the live classes are not going on. Okay? That time what would you say? It's not something like for just for now. It is now going to be continued for next few days. It started few days before, will be continuing for next few days, and it's kind of a temporary routine now. That is why we can say that it is something which is necessarily not happening at the time of speaking, but happening at this time, at this moment. I hope this is clear. So we have dealt with three uses. The first one was which is happening at the time of speaking. The second was which may not be happening at the time of speaking, but is a trend or is happening at that time. Okay. And when I say time, I mean a stretch of time. Okay. And the next one was to express a planned future, something which you have definitely planned for the future. Let us move on to the next one. Three uses we have already done. The next one is to express repeated actions. To express repeated actions. Now what do you mean by repeated? What do you mean by the term repeated? Repeated means that keeps on repeating itself at regular intervals. If I say, example, he is always reading comics. If I say, he is always reading comics. Now, what does this always denote? Or, if it comes to your vocabulary in English, what would you say? What does the term always mean? Always means something which goes on happening or which keeps on repeating itself, which occurs every day. She always gets up late in the morning. Like always means it's not only today or tomorrow that is going to happen. It is a continuous process. Every day she does the same thing. Now he is always reading comics means it is a regular action. So repeated actions are being expressed using what? Using what? Present continuous tense. Okay? And whenever you are expressing a repeated action using present continuous tense, you will be using what? The word always. Clear? You will be using what? The word always. Clear? So these are the four uses. I hope I am clear. I told you the structure. What is the structure? Structure is subject plus is, am or are plus base form of the verb plus ing. That is the subject. Okay. Then comes what? The uses. What are the four uses of present continuous tense? The first one is when you want to express something which is happening at the time of speaking. The second one is when you want to express something which may not be happening at the time of speaking, but is the action of the time, is going on at that time, okay, at that moment. Then comes what? The third one is when you want to express a planned action, okay, and the last one is when you want to express a repeated action. But when you want to express a repeated action using present continuous tense, you must use what? Always. Okay. Similarly, I think it's better if we stop over here today. Acha, what all things we have done today? Let's have a quick recap of 2 or 3 minutes. We started with revision of tense. Okay. Then I taught you the conditional sentences. What are the conditional sentences? The sentences which express some condition, okay, that are called conditional sentences. Conditional sentences are basically recognized with the word if. Now there are how many types of conditional statements? 3. Type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1 we have seen in simple present tense. What is type 1? If plus present plus will or shall. Then what is type 2? If plus past. We'll be dealing with it in past tense. Type 2 is if plus past plus would or should. And the next one is type 3. If plus past perfect plus would have. And then we dealt with present continuous tense and its uses. So it's my humble request. Simple present and present continuous. These two parts we have dealt in detail. Please try to find out the structure, try to frame sentences, try to interchange the sentences. And in the next session, in the upcoming session, we'll be doing present perfect and present continuous in detail. Those two are not that huge. It's easy. So we can finish it up in one session. So we'll be doing present perfect and present continuous tense in detail in the next session. And before I sign out, students, please, it's my humble request, go through the videos properly, prepare your notes properly, jot down your doubts at the I told you on the very first day, no? Date wise you are going to prepare your notes, and whatever doubt you have for the session, if you have no other access to clarify your doubt as of now, you can do one thing. You can draw a line at the base of the page and jot down your doubts there with pencil. Clear? Because it's not an interact, means we are not able to interact, no, as of now. So it's very difficult to understand whether you are paying attention or not, whether you are understanding or not. So please do it seriously. Your seriousness will pay you. Okay? It's not going to be of any benefit to us. So happy learning, dear students. Study well, do well, prepare well. Thank you.